one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Oak? Mr. Beistel? Here. Mr. Carson? Here. Mr. Fry? Here. Mr. Polakowski? Here. Mr. Porter? Here. Mrs. Rhodes? Here. Mrs. Smith? Here. Mrs. Love?
Here.
For the records, Mr. Ault did indicate and called me and said he would not be present tonight.
Citizens' comments?
Before we start citizens' comments, I would just like to read something that is under public content for a request to address the Southmoreland School Board. Please bear with me. Rules to participate in citizens' comments as per current board policy 006 and 903. Please be advised that citizens' comments is your opportunity to present your information to the board in regards to our agenda items and or Southmoreland schools. It is not expected to be a dialogue between you and the board. Do not expect any remarks or responses to any comments that you make today. It is our intention to take these comments seriously and resolve such matters as deemed necessary. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participants may address or question board members individually. Doing so may result in immediate termination of your speaking time. Also note that we will not permit any statement that exceeds 5 minutes. You will be notified when you have 30 seconds remaining to speak. We also cannot permit any statements that are personally directed or obscene, abusive, or irrelevant as decided by the presiding officer. Again, doing so will result in immediate termination of your speaking time. All speakers must preface their comments by the announcement of their names, address, and any group affiliation if appropriate. This is to ensure that only Southmoreland citizens or those deemed as such are speaking to the board and the public at large who may not know your identity. Thank you for your interest in Southmoreland schools. With that being said, Tammy Buttermore.
Tammy Buttermore, 1023 Moomage Street, Scottsdale, PA. First off, I'm sorry for taking anybody's time because I asked to speak to the board in executive session and suspend the rules for an executive session, and I've asked twice for that, once before I resigned from the school district as a paraprofessional, and again this evening, and I've been told that I had to speak publicly. So it's really a personal matter, I guess, that I'm going to expose to the public. When I resigned, well, a month before I resigned, I've asked in writing to Mr. Marnell and so forth on the board about my sick days that I had not used. I couldn't seem to get an answer for weeks, give me a day, give me this, give me that. And then once I turned in my resignation, then I got an email and it said, well, I believe if you retire, yes. I believe if you resign, no. But it really wasn't a definite answer. It was I believe this or I believe that. When I was hired 18 years ago onto the district, there was no written agreement for anything. Nobody. It was kind of just go. I didn't even take benefits when I first started or whatever. It was always, well, we take care of our people. So now as I look at everybody here, I voted for all of you. I have those 33 sick days because I am a dedicated and was a dedicated employee here. I had to seek employment elsewhere because we were going to lose our benefits, which I cannot go without. And when you have a job opportunity, I didn't say, well, I'll take my 30-some sick days and make up a fake that I'm sick and I'll go to work. I was loyal and I came to work for the children. I'm not asking for something that is not mine. A severance pay is not mine at all. But 33 sick days that I earned in 18 years, I believe those should be mine and I should be paid for those. When I did use sick days, if you want to look back in the record, most of those days were taken on in-service days and days when the district did not even have to pay a sub. because I was here again for the children, because they always said, Mrs. Buttermore, it's not the same when you're not here. You know, we want you to be here, please don't. So I was so dedicated to this district, and like I said, I voted for every one of you in our area, and now I'm asking you to look at me and pull my record. I have nothing. I stayed in this district when it was snowing and blowing. Called Dak Molnar. Tammy, you can go home, but I'm really thankful you stayed to make sure the children got home. Who crawled under the automobiles in the parent pickup for 8 years when the dad said, I said, you dropped something, and he said, I'll pull up, you get it? And Mrs. Buttermore, 50 years old, crawled under the vehicle and got it. And now all I ask is to be paid for 33 sick days. I would please ask you to seriously take that into consideration. And I'm sorry to take the rest of the people's time here. I shouldn't have had to make that a personal issue in front of everybody and my colleagues, but I think everybody in the room would agree with me. If they had those sick days that they earned before they left a job, they would like to be paid for them also. Thank you.
Juliana Orr.
My name is Juliana Orr, and I live on 1001 Laux Avenue in Scottsdale. I just want to say my name's Juliana Orr, and I'm a senior at Southmoreland. I moved to the district in 8th grade after my dad retired from the military. After maturing and taking time to reflect, coming to this school district has taught me so many things that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. The teachers, educators, and staff at this school make Southmoreland Southmoreland. If it wasn't for the extensive support and care my teachers have provided me with throughout the years, especially while in high school, I know for a fact that I wouldn't be as successful as I have been, and I most definitely wouldn't have come as far as I have today. What really astonishes me the most is the fact that most of the special needs students of our school had the voice that I do, and had the capability to stand here right now facing all of you. Things would probably be a lot different. But the 6 of you who decided in favor of outsourcing these paraprofessionals seem to forget that they may be labeled as aides, but they are teachers to these students, just like how my teachers are to me. And it's so unfair for them because the majority are totally incapable of defending themselves. This decision targeted the most vulnerable children of our district, and it's repulsive. However, despite being very upset about the decision made on March 21st, I want to bring to attention other things that are worrisome to me as a whole. Not only as an upcoming graduate and alumni, but as a cousin to an elementary student and a sister of a middle schooler. Beginning this school year, you all made the decision to cut the AP foreign language classes of Spanish and French since the foreign language teachers of the middle school were cut. I'd like to inform you that if it wasn't for having my AP science class, I wouldn't have found my absolute love and passion for what I want to pursue in my first 4 years of college. What happens when the AP sciences don't fit your agenda anymore, or AP math or English? What if Spanish or French was something someone wanted to endeavor but needed that level of rigor to realize it? That's not high quality education to all. That's simply taking away the high quality education we all rightfully deserve. I understand needing to meet a quota or a budget, but do you guys not see how all these choices are affecting us as students, as parents, and as a community? Or does that not matter because finances are prioritized over the student body? We don't even have a librarian at our school anymore. It's also such a hassle to even get essays and papers printed for class because 3/4 of the time the machines are down, or teachers are having to make a plan B last minute because they wanted to print worksheets for class. And since the Chromebooks aren't individually distributed anymore, another huge waste of money, it's another weight added to our amazing teachers' shoulders. They don't deserve that, and neither do we, let alone being able to have access to something so simple and essential to proper education, books. At the end of the day, what is most important to me is my generation. There are some who don't have the courage to stand here and speak for not only themselves but their peers. But I am willing to do this every day of the week if I needed to. I love the generation I'm a part of. We are one of the most open-minded, independent, accepting, and aware generations that this world will probably ever see. You can be rich, poor, black, white, straight, gay, autistic, or not, and I would never change my view of somebody solely based upon these things, and I know many others feel the same way. I think what many fail to understand or just simply don't care enough to realize is that my generation is the future. My generation will be taking care of all of you and all of you whenever you're retired. My generation has the responsibility of putting the world on our shoulders, literally, once we become adults, and that's a lot to handle. Continuously cutting these educational programs in general is setting the precedent for my generation lower and lower as time continues, and I refuse to let my generation, my people, become failures because we are all capable of so much. Just because we live in the small town of Scottdale doesn't mean we can't be the ones to find the cure for cancer or be the next Albert Einstein. However, in order for us to accomplish our full potential, we need help. We need you guys to understand and see the importance of being educated in today's world. Taking away aspects of our education continuously may fit your agenda for money, budgets, and paperwork, but it doesn't fit our agenda for wanting to prosper in this one life we're given. This school has been in a downward spiral of regression for the last many years, and I'm saying this with the utmost of respect. But if you all truly did care about our education and what we get out of it, you should keep in mind that you all are the same people to blame as to why we're in this financial predicament right now. After this summer, I will be moving an hour away for the next 4 years of college. I will more than likely be going to Philadelphia to finish my graduate schooling. This doesn't directly affect me, and you know, as much as I really want to rip my sister's hair out sometimes, I would do anything for her. She deserves the same educational opportunities as I have received, if not more. I cannot and will not sit back and watch my family's education in Southmoreland continuously decline each year because you all attempt to sneak decisions under the table at the last minute because you don't want to hear our backlash. At the end of the day, you can take away our special needs aides, our tissues, our AP classes, our librarians, Band-Aids, and honestly, who knows what else in the following years to come. You can take away all of these things, but the one thing your budget and committee cannot and will not strip our student body of, and I assure you this, is our voices. And I hope me standing here right now gives someone the courage to use theirs in the future as well, because it's so important our voices as young adults are heard. Thank you.
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams, I live at 208 North Chestnut Street. I'm here representing my son, Daniel Williams, because he can't do it for himself. The Sunshine Law does give you the right to sit up there and not respond to us, but it also states that if you have answers, you should answer. So at this point, I have to assume that you have no answers. I can also assume that you're flying by the seat of your pants, because if you used a good decision-making model, you would have thought this all out, and you would be able to answer any questions we do have. Last month, a huge decision was made in regards to special education. I'm not sure how any of you could have made a well-informed decision on the issue. I'm wondering where it was discussed. Was it discussed in the 30-minute executive session? I'm assuming you also discussed other things that were not on the agenda, yet you voted on them. I just don't understand how a decision was made on this in less than 30 minutes. Do you all know the difference between a classroom assistant and a personal support staff? Both play very important roles in special education, yet both positions are very different. You would not sub out your entire teaching staff. The classroom assistants should be no different. I bet if anyone took the time to ask the special education teachers, they would have fought hard to keep them. You are destroying the program that you have taken 10 years to build. Were there ever conversations with the paraprofessionals? Did we ask them if they would stay employees of the district for $16.50 an hour? Did we offer them $16.50 an hour, no benefits, but the opportunity to buy their benefits? Many times in life, it is not what we say, but how we say it. You all came out here after executive session and let Mr. Masha give us his speech, and then offered up special education and the paraprofessionals as the sacrificial lamb. So I ask each of you, if this was your job, would you stay? Would you move to Mission 1 after being so disrespected? Would you move to Mission 1 for 6 cents an hour or more? Would you move to Mission 1 for no sick days, no holidays, no pension? Would you move to Mission 1 and pay roughly $400 more for your insurance? Insurance that is a minimal coverage, minimal essential coverage plan, or would you leave because you feel so underappreciated? With all that being said, can anyone up there please explain to me how you felt very informed about this issue, but you needed more information about the concession stand? One parent came here and voiced concern. I do not begrudge her questions. Everyone has their own issues with what's going on here. What I will say is this: if we run concession stand ourselves, the boosters run it, or we outsource it, you will not change the course of any child's education. The decision you made last week, that decision will affect every single child within this district. If you think it won't, you really shouldn't be making decisions for the children or the taxpayers of this district. 13% of our student population receives some type of special education support. I assure you that in the next 5 years, that number will grow. It will grow at a rate you cannot even begin to imagine. We need to start thinking outside of the box if we are going to be financially stable. Taxes are going to go up again this year. From what I have heard and read, I'm assuming that amount will be roughly 4.5 mils. That is a little easier pill to swallow if our children are getting a great education. It's hard to think about where education is heading, especially when I feel the education we received 30, 40, even 50 years ago far exceeds the education we are providing for our children now. The cuts just keep coming and the taxes just keep rising. Continually, we are asked if we have reached out to local, state, and federal representatives. Mrs. Rhodes gave us a speech on that last year, and I've heard it privately with both Mr. Masha and Mr. Clara. I have taken that to heart, and I have began to reach out to them. I would like to know if any of the 9 of you have done the same. There is a huge substitute issue going on here right now, so much so that ESS and Mission 1 is advertising on yard signs. That's a disgrace. We are advertising for educators on yard signs. Let that sink in. ESS is advertising along the roadways for people to bring into our school district. Were you all aware that on any given day we are having to double up classrooms, divide children up, separate them from their classmates? I was actually offered the opportunity to come and pick my child up on days they did not have a sub for his classroom. That would never be the solution. This district is legally obligated to educate my child. This is the same agency that will be providing personal support staff and classroom assistants. I challenge each of you to do something over the next 2 weeks. If farming is your interest, take some time to read about Temple Grandin, autistic, diagnosed in 1950, now a professor at Colorado State University, world-renowned for her work in the cattle industry as well as autism. If you don't like to read, there's a great movie you could watch. If sports are your thing, look up Anthony Ianni, diagnosed at age 4, graduated from Division I college where he played basketball. You could also read about Mozart, Einstein, and Tesla, all of whom are expected to have been autistic. I hope that some progress is made over the next 2 weeks. We deserve answers so that we can make good decisions for our children. We want some answers, and until we have answers, we cannot make decisions of where to educate our children. Do you all understand that? I mean, I can't make a decision what to do for my child because we don't know if the program's even still going to be here. That's what you've done to this program. Where am I to get those answers? Please tell me. I thank Mr. Masha and I thank Mr. Clara for reaching out to me, but they don't have the answers. So where do we get them? Where do we get them?
James Williams.
Good evening. My name's James Williams. I live 208 North Chestnut Street in Scottsdale. There are several things I want to talk about tonight, and I know what you read about how this is supposed to be addressed and how we're not supposed to personally address people here. But there's some things that need to be pointed out. Do you know what the intermediate unit is and what their job is? Let me read something to you. Intermediate units are regional education service agencies created by the Pennsylvania State Legislature in 1970. They provide support to local school districts to expand educational services and provide cost savings to taxpayers by eliminating service redundancy and taking advantage of economy of scale. Definition of economy of scale: a proportionate saving in costs gained by an increased level of production. There are 29 intermediate units in the state of Pennsylvania. However, no two IUs are exactly alike. Each is uniquely shaped by the region it serves and the needs of its member school districts. Each IU performs a number of roles. Intermediate unit employees are simultaneously vendors, service providers, grant writers, financial management specialists, researchers, advisors, advocates, and facilitators. In the position that this school is in right now, why are we not reaching out to the IU? Do you know that there's a board of directors for the IU that's made up of representatives from all the schools? Is everyone aware of that? Our current representative is Heather Smith, correct? Our previous representative was our board president, Amy Love, correct? So when you go through and you do a little bit of research, we started looking into this whole ESS thing. The intermediate unit right now is hiring their own paraprofessionals and discontinuing the ESS service through their paraprofessionals because it didn't work. Should we have not known about this by our representatives that go to those meetings? So they're modeling their program right now after ours, and we're going backwards. I don't understand that. I have an answer to why or how the information might not have gotten here. I'll get to that. So basically, we're not using the IU. So the person that's supposed to be representing us for the last couple years is our school board president, Ms. Love, correct? So how many meetings did you attend in the last 2 years? Do you know? Does this fall under that I'm not allowed to address anybody thing? I can tell you I have the answer. If you go on the website and look at the meeting minutes, you can figure this out. So I don't know if the rest of the board knows this or not, but this stuff was discussed at the IU, this whole thing with the paraprofessionals. Wouldn't it have been nice if we had someone that could have brought that knowledge back so we could have had an informed decision about this? Or the rest of you in the dark, or did you know and just not care? Those are answers I'd like to have. The last meeting that you attended, Mrs. Love, was March 2017. Think about that. This is a program, this was developed by the state to assist the schools, yet we blow it off. We don't care, we don't go to the meetings. I have no idea what the reason was, but that's almost 2 years worth of meetings. It's in the meeting minutes. You can go through the IU meeting minutes and look. They have who voted on what. And another thing that I think is a disgrace, you were actually on the Financial Services Committee, and you didn't even show up at the meetings. How can you represent us? We voted for you. You're all discussing whether I can discuss this or not. Is that what's going on?
Well, I would question if this is pertinent to tonight's agenda, and that's the only thing I'm questioning.
It's pertinent to what we're deciding on. We have no clue. It's pertinent to what happened last month. It's pertinent to my son's education. Yeah, this is important. Discussing whether this is, you know what's important? It's important when you're obligated to make a meeting, to go to the meeting, to get the information and bring it back and disseminate it amongst your peers. That's what's important. You're the school board president. You failed. You can't even show up to a meeting. You're supposed to represent us. You know what? You should resign. I've talked to several parents. For what you've done to this program, bringing them in here, you should resign. You should step down and resign. You have no business sitting in that chair representing this program. Thank you.
Richard Love? Let me double check.
Minutes, approval of minutes.
The board will be asked to consider the approval of the minutes for the March 14th and March 21st, 2019 board meetings and a revision to the February 21st, 2019 minutes. The word labor was left off the Finance and Labor Committee.
accounts. Fund accounting check summary.
The board will be asked to consider the approval of the March 2019 fund accounting check summary.
2019 treasurer's report.
The board will be asked to consider the approval of the March 2019 treasurer's report.
March 2019 general fund budget summary.
The board will be asked to consider the approval of the March 2019 general fund budget summary.
Premium renewal.
The board will be asked to consider the renewal of the 2019-2020 premium.
Board reports. Are you going to give a board report?
I'm going to, you know.
That's that renewal premium, is that through, if you already have one go?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry. That's our insurance premium. Okay.
Superintendent information.
I know I usually give my report at the voting meeting, but I just wanted to bring out a couple issues. One dealing with community relations. It is my hope the school board and administration can continue to work with and provide our community the unbiased governance needed to make decisions during these difficult financial times. Southmoreland School District is a great school district that will continue to strive to provide all students with the highest educational experience possible while continuing to meet the ever-increasing demands being placed upon the district. I also I've taken it, I do listen to what is being said. I made some revisions to board docs. It was probably my responsibility. So the content is readily accessible to all stakeholders. Please keep in mind that there is still confidentiality of some issues that will limit our availability of presenting that information to you. I also would quickly like to review a little bit about our budget situation. The initial difference between when we first started the budget process, the initial difference between expenditures and revenues, the expenditures were $32,398,092, and our revenues were $30,549,025, for a difference of negative $1,849,067. As of 4/2, making some difficult choices, and with some of our teachers taking advantage of an early retirement program, our estimated expenditures now are at $31,356,975, which means that we have reduced our overall budget by $1,041,117. Our current gap between expenditures and revenues is roughly around $808,950 in the red. I will be presenting to the public some things for consideration. Please bear with me. I'm going to take some time to publicly announce some of the things that we have been looking at. We are looking at the possibility of the reduction of team leaders. There is some monies that were listed in the budget for extracurricular after-school tutoring, which we have now some grants that are available for that. Reducing the team leaders' FICA and their PSERs. We have built into the budget contingency for additional source for teachers, substitute teachers. I am proposing that we reduce that figure by a small fraction, still allowing for us the opportunity to bring in the support that we need. We currently have a designated daily building sub in SPC, SES, SMS, and SHS, and I am proposing that we reduce that building sub. We have a number of students that are currently have the ability to be moved over to the middle school for a life skills program. With restaffing some of our staff, I would like to present to the community and to the board of starting a middle school life skills program here in this building. We also have some money that was in the budget for sub-aides. That will be provided by ESS. We currently have some money in the budget that is designated for printing district-related content. I would propose that we remove that. There was money that was put in for theater and musical staff. The play has done very good, and I want to compliment those that were involved in the play. My family and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it is my contention that the play is currently able to be self-sustaining, and I would propose that it continue to be self-sustaining. We are going to have to take a hard look at some of the low participation sports in which we are paying a considerable amount of money with low participation. I would still put on the floor the concession stand faculty advisor with the possibility of either opening the concession stand up for outside bid or allowing our booster organizations to come in and oversee that. And we had designated $277,000 for updating math curriculum. In talking to the administrative staff, we would like to reduce that by $100,000 with the assurance that SPC, SES, and SMS will be receiving as much updates as possible. It is the thought process that the high school currently is capable of sustaining as they are right now. I'm going to be continuing to look at possibilities of how we could make some additional reductions without severely impacting the overall performance of our district. I would like to also state that we are looking at restaffing our existing teachers to better meet the educational needs of our students in an effort to ensure the highest level of education for all students while being fiscally responsible and prudent. I also would like to alert the community that there was a district-wide facility study that was taken back in 2016, and I think that we need to revisit that feasibility study, which could mean restructuring our schools. There is the potential for change in transportation, consolidation of bus runs. A couple things that are on the future. There is the potential to replace the district vans, and I think that we have to severely take a look at leasing versus purchasing new equipment and transportation. And I would like to adamantly state to the public, the administrators are here to address your concerns. I would invite you to please reach out to my administrative staff, and if you have questions or concerns, and we will make all efforts to assist you. I know that the principals have been working very diligent with me in trying to address some of these concerns. Thank you.
Solicitor information.
All right,
Yes, sir.
you brought up the budget, okay? We have our budget books. I picked up mine yesterday and I started studying it, reviewing it. And I just want to make sure I got this right, Jim. With this new budget book, you're saying our expenses are approximately $900,000 more than last year's budget. Is that after the $1 million in cuts?
Yes.
So originally, that budget went up $1.9 million. I got to be upfront with you. That's hard for me to believe. But we need to sit down and...
Mr. Porter, I would relish the opportunity to sit down with you and Mr. Marnell to review anything that we could possibly.
Name the time, name the place.
Solicitor information?
We had the closing with Mr. and Mrs. Colbert and Mr. Taylor to acquire the small strip of ground at the Rousdale School, and the deed is recorded in the Westmoreland County Courthouse. I gave a letter and a package to Mr. Masha with the settlement sheet, the original of the deed, the title insurance policy, and some other documents. The next items of business will be for the school board to decide whether to keep progressing towards sale of the property and whether to utilize a bid system, or as you previously had decided and kept on hold and can still pursue, moving forward with choosing from the individuals who submitted proposals to be your listing agent. So those form resolutions I've worked out. I've also worked out a new legal description containing the complete description, and you will have a resolution for the April 25th meeting to be able to proceed on one of those bases. I think that pretty well covers it.
I don't need to remember. Old business. Did you cover everything?
I think he covered it.
Yeah, okay. Concession stand?
The board will be asked to consider posting for outside vendors bidding the food service contract at the Southmoreland High School Field House for all football and soccer games for the 2019-2020 school year. I'm also open for listening to boost organizations.
New business, a Delphi agreement?
The board will be asked to consider the approval of an agreement with the Delphi Educational Services at Hartford Heights location for the 2019-2020 school year. Programs for students are behavioral support, emotional support, and YES, which is Your Educational Success, which is a credit recovery program.
Marikey?
The board will be asked to consider the approval of the 2019-2020 extended school year contract renewal.
What is this, Vince?
That is for... That's the ESY, the extended school year with Mary for students needing additional services.
Notice of adoption policies, procedures, and the use of funds.
Cooperative. The board is asked to consider the approval of the notice of adoption of policies, procedures, and use of funds by school districts. This document indicates that your school district adopts the policies and procedures to fulfill the requirements of 22 PA Code Chapter 14 and the regulatory requirements under IDEA Part B. Which basically, if you look at the W, it means we are required to provide services for our students in need.
Pre-K counts.
The board will be asked to consider the pre-K counts MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding for the 2019-2020 school year. We might have to recess for personnel.
Can we recess for personnel?
Yeah.
Need a
Are you
mo-
coming back?
Yeah.
There you go. Is there anything we don't need? There's nothing else.
Are you adjourning to a personnel, to a executive session, or are you recessing?
No, we can't discuss any of this. No.
Are you coming back is the question? Or are you done?
We're done.
Okay, then you're adjourning. Okay, keep it up there.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session
This is for personnel.
Yes.
for personnel. Second? All in favor? Roll call.
Just voice vote.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
I still need...
Opposed? Citizens' comments? If he's going to hear me,
Mr. Masher, sir, the list that you went through, that things that you're considering for cuts and that,
Well, those are just possibilities.
possibilities, I understand. It's all stuff that you're kind of throwing out there to give us a warning that these things are basically being talked about,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
What, out of all those things you listed, was there anything administratively on there?
As I said, I'm continually to look at all, I did not discuss any personnel matters.
No, I don't care about personnel matters. I just mean administratively at all. Like, basically, I've heard about this, that, and the other. We listened to all this, but from what I understand, the administrators are due to have a pay increase coming up soon here. Is that true?
I think there's a misconception. Administrators are not getting $20,000 raises.
I didn't say that. That's not what I
But that
said.
was brought out the last meeting. As in every bargaining unit within this organization, they do receive yearly increases.
Well, don't you think it's about time maybe we start freezing some of that?
We're going to be looking at all that.
Yeah, we need to look at that. And maybe, you know, if your household had an impact to your income, you don't take away from your kids. Do you? Anybody out here that suffered anything in their home, in their finances, they don't take the stuff away from their kids. They make the concessions. They bite the bullets. The mother and father, the people that are trying to raise the family. Can't you even look at this like that? You know, for everything that we're doing, it seems like we're cutting everything for the kids. It really does. I mean, you can, I'm not going to argue it with you. You can run this all by. But when you're talking about low participation sports, that one person that participates in that sport, that could be their whole world. And you're going to take that away. That's not fair. That's not equal for everybody. Yet you have administrators and that, I mean, you know, sometimes we got to look at the other stuff.
Sir, I have a book right here that I have religiously poured through. Okay, I will look at every possibility, but we all have to be open for what could come down the line. I'm just being 100% honest and open with you as to what are some possibilities. So what will shake out here, I don't know, but I don't have the answer, sir. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have the means to make up $800,000 that we're in the red. So I am willing, as I said, sir, I am willing to have any conversations. I am open to have conversations. Please make an appointment with me, and I'm looking for input. I will keep an open mind.
If that was the case, then a month or two or even several months ago, you should have gotten in touch with the special education parents and been open with them, but you weren't. You didn't. You guys ran this threw it on the agenda. 10 months ago, you voted it down. All of a sudden, now it's a good thing to cut. If you wanted to be open, you should have brought the paras in and talked to them. You should have talked to the teachers. You should have talked to the people involved. Maybe they would have had a solution. Maybe they could have helped somehow. You didn't explore those. That's what the problem is.
Thank you for your...
Michelle Williams.
Hang on one second. Go ahead.
So I have a couple things. The first one is you talked about cutting after-school tutoring and that there's grant money. My first thing is I would sure hope we don't cut anything till we know those dollars are in the budget, because we can't afford to cut tutoring to kids who need it after school. There's Title I all through elementary school, and then you get up to the middle school and the high school, and there's nothing. There's nothing federally funded for them. So the substitute teachers, you talked about cutting them from the buildings so they wouldn't be there every day. Was there very many days that those substitute teachers weren't used? Like, I mean, you don't have to answer me, but I mean, please jot that down as a note. Were there many days not used? Because to me, you didn't meet my child's IEP on February 11th. You didn't meet his IEP on March 8th, on March 11th, on March 12th, on the 13th, on the 14th, on the 15th. All those days, I could file something. You didn't follow his IEP because you didn't have substitute teachers. So now we're talking about reducing the rate. So is that the rate that you have budgeted and that's not what you're paying? Or are you talking about not paying them $100 a day? What are we reducing? So the substitute teachers are paid $100 a day, correct?
Yes.
For working. Are you talking about reducing that rate?
No.
Okay. I would certainly hope not, because we're in competition for all the same substitutes: Hempfield, Jeanette, Greensburg, Clairview, all of that. None of us have substitute teachers. Low participation in sports, what constitutes that number?
We're determining that number.
So I'm just saying, golf is a single sport. You don't need teammates, you can be one person. So you have one person over here participating in golf or cross country or whatever it is, and you have 28 kids over here participating in high school football. So I'm just saying that 28 to me, that's not a very large number either. You have 233 kids that make up your special education in this school district. I'm just saying, these are numbers. Who asked what ESY is or what Mary-Kay was? Mary-Kay is ESY, extended school year, because we don't offer one. You all offer it through these programs. Clairview, Clillian Heights, I believe you voted on Clillian Heights last time to participate again. And Mary-Kay used to be Stepping Stones. So if Mary-Kay didn't sound familiar to you, that's what it is. So the other thing is, you know, I listened back to the March 14th board meeting, and Mr. Marnell had a very lengthy conversation about why it's not all your fault that we're in the predicament that we're in, that there are underlying reasons. And I understand all that, but I don't think anybody up there can say you didn't contribute to the situation when you went behind none of us left, because last year when we left, you all came out and voted on something that you all said you wouldn't vote on. And that was whenever you hired 2 new principals to the tune of $160,000 a year for 2 of them, plus benefits. So I don't think we can say the state caused that. It wasn't the federal government. It was all of you that came out here and voted to do that. I mean, I don't know who did and who didn't vote, because it was shady and you waited till we all left. So I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of people to blame, and if you're going to sit and say, it's not my fault, we didn't do it, this didn't happen, that's not how it is. I mean, please stop cutting programs for our kids. They've worked hard to be where they are. And you said about calling administrators. Nobody has the answers to my questions. So my question is this, and maybe you can find an answer somewhere. If my child's paraprofessional does not show up for the day, what happens? What happens? Does somebody call me and say, hey, we don't have anybody, you can come pick him up? What happens? I mean, I think that's a legitimate question. Right now, you're filling that within our district. So if my para calls off, you have paras that can come in and cover. When you go to this outside agency, they're covering 100 paraprofessionals for Hempfield a day. They're covering 50 paraprofessionals for Greensburg-Salem a day. And they're covering 30 for Jeanette a day. And that's just the ones I know. So what happens when you don't have anyone?
You have 30 seconds.
So what happens? I mean, can somebody please answer me that?
I do understand your concerns, Mrs. Williams, and I am working to try to as best we can.
So the other thing I want to say is these numbers that you got to, this $808,000 that we're still in the negative. And Mr. Porter had asked Mr. Marnell if this is truly the number. We weren't balanced last year when we left here. We were over budget, and you took from the reserves. But I just want to say that we still could have gotten to this $808,000 if we would have left the paraprofessionals here for $16.50 an hour. You didn't even have to get rid of them. You could have had a conversation. Is that a done deal? Is that contract signed? Is it already mailed off? So that's a done deal, ship has sailed, this is just how it's going to be. Is that where we're at? That's a shame.
I would like to also go on the record because we did not hire We did replace 2 administrators, one for Mr. Lee, who resigned and retired, and one for me that was moved up. I was the middle school principal, and we replaced 2 administrators that were 12 months with 2 10-month administrators at a savings to the district.
But the bottom line is it was $160,000 more out of our budget that we didn't have. That's my point.
Juliana, I'm back. I didn't get to finish what I was talking about last time, but I have spent a lot of time working on what I was writing to present to you guys, and I didn't get to finish what I was saying, but I just wanted to make it clear with you and all the administration and community that I do love this school. Like, I really do. Like, my integrity and intelligence, everything, from walking in as an 8th grader to leaving as a 12th grader, I'm a completely different person. Like, I've learned so much here as a person and as a student too. And I know it's frustrating for you guys and everyone else that has to deal with this, because it is frustrating. Like, you can't control the budget right now. You have to do what you have to do to make this work. But I hope you guys are keeping in mind that these people, they're angry and they're upset because they care. And they don't want to single out people. They don't want to come up here and just yell at you guys and make you guys look like horrible people, because you're not. You guys take time out of your lives to come and do this for our community and for our school. And that's a lot to do as a person. But as parents, they care about their kids. And as for me, like, I care about myself, I care about my family, I care about my peers. And it's like, I just don't want to see this school continuously cut these things, like the sports programs. Like, I don't want to see those go. And I know you guys have to do what you have to do to make things work with the budget, but it's like, it's hard, because AP Spanish, I was going to take that this year. I was so excited to. And I understood that I couldn't because of budget. And it's like, I just don't want to see more stuff like that go, because there's people in our school that love that stuff. And it's I don't know. It's just...
I just want to tell you folks that as I've been listening, I don't want my $1,500, okay? But I want that to go to the tutoring program for these children. I think enough in my heart that that money is mine, but I want it to be given to the children for the tutoring program. Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is adjourned. The meeting is adjourned.